welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I am your ballin', poker playing, what year is it, host Madelyn.
I'm your dancing my way down the street host Emma.
Why did you say it like that?
I was looking for the words as I was saying them.
As if those were 3 different games, just like mine.
No, it wasn't.
What is the My Way game? Thanks for tuning into this week's show. It's the 6-week recap. It's time for us to download our saved data right into your eardrums.
Yep.
What have we been playing these past 6 weeks?
Well, shall I start?
I think that you have to. I really do think, every 6 weeks I say this. I'm so sorry, listeners. This 6 weeks, though, for real, the games are coming.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Games are coming.
All right, I look forward to the games that are coming.
A chill reaches the air.
The game that's dancing their way down the street, you might say.
I play 6 hours of Balatro each way on my flights to LA.
Exactly.
It's gonna be great.
Well, I played more of Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance. 5 Vengeance, even. Viva. Which I'm approaching the end now, but I'm in like the last area. I think it's just kind of like side quest land right now, so we're doing side quest things. Some real drama been going down in the game.
Like what?
Well, I guess spoilers for Shin Megami Tensei The Vengeance. But you know what? The streaming guidelines said I only had to wait 10 days, so sorry.
The viewer discretion is advised, or listener discretion, I guess.
Simone Toasty, as I named him.
What?
Simone Toasty, as I named him.
Toasty?
Toasty.
Toasty?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Well, I always do Simone for the first name on my first playthrough of things because It's a nice sort of gender neutrally thing. I can name whatever character Simone. And then when they make me do a last name, it's just the first word that pops into my mind most of the time.
That's not as fun as mine, but that's my naming strategies, but that's okay.
You know what? It's not, but I like the ring of Simone Toasty, personally. Wow. Simone Toasty was traveling the netherworld with his 2 gal pals, the law-aligned gal pal and the chaos-aligned gal pal, having, philosophical arguments about every side quest that we came across.
Sure.
And then his soulmate died, and now he's in a situationship with the Prime Minister of Japan.
Haven't we all been there?
Who's also a god, I feel like is relevant to say.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean, that's relatable.
Yeah. So he's having a good time. He's having a time. He's lost his 2 gal pals. He's just got the Prime Minister of Japan with him. He's lost the other part of his soul, But we did meet the Nahobiho.
Yeah.
I really want to say the Nahobohiho.
No, not Hee-Ho.
It's Jack Frost, who is so enamored with him that he's cosplaying him.
I don't understand this at all.
So, the Nahobiho is now a permanent member of my party, of course.
Hee-Ho.
The first part of this was really Simone Toasty and the gals, and now it's Simone Toasty and the boys. It's how my demon party has sort of progressed over time. The boys sometimes includes my big dog, so,
It's have you seen the meme that's like, it's weak when you call your partner baby, and then it's Tiger Woods doing big dog.
No.
That's you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Still, I think it's just very cozy game for me. I don't know why.
Yeah, nothing like riding around losing your soul with the deity Prime Minister of Japan.
Yeah, true. But just something about, it's not a very, it's Shin Megami Tensei. Neither of the games I played, I've been very hard, either 4 or this one, I think. It's just that if you go into it and you you just don't use buffs or debuffs, you might find it hard. But once you understand that that's like debuffing people's attack and buffing your own stats is like an integral part of the combat system, it becomes not that difficult anymore. And in some ways, I feel like it very much encourages you to be set up to like turn the boss fights into very easy jokes for yourself. Like, it'll give you demons that are very appropriate for the boss fights you're going into, or it'll like be like, you can now fuse this demon. So like my big dog, for example. Well, I was able to fuse Big Dog Hayataro right before there's a battle with a guy who likes to use a single target electric attack as his opening move. And Big Dog is immune to electric and also has a taunt ability. So once you figure that out, it's very satisfying.
Sure.
Because the way that the game also works is you have press turns. And so when you hit a critical or a weakness of the enemy, you gain press turns. And when you hit something that they either block or they dodge it, you lose press turns. So you're sort of rewarded and punished for making use of the battle system effectively. And the same applies to the enemy, right? So if they hit something that you block, they lose press turns. So you can essentially like cancel out their turn if you're being smart enough with what demons you're bringing out and how you're utilizing them. So it's just it's like a little puzzle, you know, and once you figure out how it works, it's very satisfying to enact that. And even like for side quests and stuff, I've done some stuff that it's like far above my level at the time, but if you're just smart enough and set yourself up right, you can pretty much figure out how to beat those boss fights even when your level is like 10 below what they are. So it's just fun. It's a satisfying little cozy sort of experience.
Has a big dog, so.
Has a big dog, yes. One other quick one, I played Arctic Eggs.
Arctic Eggs?
Arctic Eggs, which is a game about making eggs for some very strange people.
Like cooking eggs, to be clear. Okay,
cooking
great.
Eggs. Cooking eggs, and also bacon, and also fish rations, and also cigarettes, and also shot glasses with ice in them, and also bouncy puffer fish, and so on and so forth.
I can't say that in the Arctic I could ever see an occasion where I would want a shot glass full of ice, but more power to you.
They want it room temperature, right? So that's why you're putting it on the frying pan in the cup. They want their room temperature ice.
Room temperature ice?
Yeah, Madelyn.
Huh?
Obviously.
Okay.
So yeah, you start with just eggs, and you have a frying pan, and you have to cook the egg on both sides. So you learn how to you have to move the pan around to generate heat, and then you flip the egg over by flipping it in the pan, and then you move the egg around on the other side to generate heat, right? And then you have an egg cooked on both sides. But then each person that you meet wants different things with their egg. So maybe they want 2 eggs, right? Or maybe they want you to finish cooking their egg with their cigarette before the cigarette goes out, right? Like a very normal human being.
Yeah, that's a normal request.
Or maybe they want you to cook their living crickets who will attempt to escape the pan as you're cooking.
Nobody call PETA.
On the crickets, yeah. Anyway, I cooked everything because I didn't realize you didn't actually have to do everybody's request. But I did, in fact, manage to complete everybody's request, even the one with 2 crickets where I wanted to die by the end of it.
So did the crickets.
So, no, they really didn't, was the problem. They should have longed for death more. But anyway, very weird little game, but a very short little experience too. It doesn't outstay its welcome. And the final boss fight is just cooking more and more eggs, essentially. You start with 1 and then build up to 6 eggs at once. And I'm proud to say I did that perfectly because my cooking skills, my flipping skills had been so incredibly honed over the course of the game that I was just like an egg master.
An egg legend.
Yeah. So I had fun with that. That was a good little game. On my Steam Deck. Oh. I think it would probably be... Actually, I don't know. In some ways, I feel like it would be easier with a mouse. And in some ways, I feel like it would be more difficult with a mouse. So...
Philosophical.
Yeah.
Well, we finished the story mode of Super Monkey Ball. I think in the previous 6 weeks. I really thought, because I had read something online about how many levels there were in the game. And so I think on the last 6-week recap, I said, we're probably only about halfway through. And that was not the case. We were pretty close to the end of the story mode at that point. They are phantom thieves in Super Monkey Ball.
Right, you said that last time.
Which is really funny. It continued to be really funny. Anyway, yeah, a very good Monkey Ball story, a much more involved Monkey Ball story, coherent Monkey Ball story.
I love to hear about a coherent Monkey Ball story.
I know that's why people play these games.
Yeah, that's the reason.
They're in it for the story. We did, I think also, as I discussed last time, get a little unhealthily into we have to get the golden banana challenge, and the get all the bananas challenge, and the hit the speed goal challenge. There's nothing quite like, though, when you hit the speed goal.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Especially when I love a Monkey Ball level where, you know, they have these, like, you just have to clear the level to get through it, right? But they also you get a reward for clearing it in X seconds on each level. And there's nothing I love like when that is like, it's 6 seconds. Because then you know there's no strategy to it. Right? You know it's just I've got to launch myself at the precise angle to clip off of something and go soaring into the goal. This is not a game of skill. This is a game of chance.
Yeah.
So those ones are always quite fun because it's like, well, what could it expect me to do in the 7 seconds I have hit this goal? Surely I'm just supposed to bounce off of this little wall and go flying hundreds of meters.
Of course.
So lots of good Monkey Ball replays saved from that. It is so satisfying to go back and be like, yes, I did it. But we also managed to get some of the ones that were harder and required a lot of work. I spent too long and got too frustrated with some of these optional Monkey Ball time challenges. Anyway, after you finish the story mode, there's a bunch of other like challenge levels. It continues on. We did fizzle out with that, not very far into that. Not because the levels themselves were crazy. I mean, they're hard, right? And the time goals started to feel like there's no way. So it did take away that kind of numbers go up, or rather numbers go down carrot from me. Mm-hmm. But mostly just because like we were both traveling, and then we picked up some other games, and just like did not jump back into the Super Monkey Ball addiction. But it's very good. It's a good Monkey Ball. It's probably the best Monkey Ball that I've played. Quite classic. Supposedly they fixed some kind of bug with it that was making people feel like it was unplayable. I don't know. I didn't notice. It was like
what?
It was like something with... It's made in Unity, maybe?
Okay.
And there's something with the physics engine in that like the game runs at 60 frames per second, but the physics engine only updates at like 50 frames per second or something like
interesting.
that. So every 6th frame, it drops the physics, and it is shuddery, apparently. I don't know. As discussed many, many, many times on the podcast before, I don't see frames.
Well, were you playing it on Switch?
It's only on Switch.
Oh, it's only on Switch. I don't even know how you'd notice that on Switch. Does the Switch really run anything at 60 frames a second?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Couldn't tell ya. But you can like grow a banana tree. That's like sort of the post-game thing. So you like put your points into like growing a banana tree. That might not even be right. It's like growing something. I can't remember. We were like, this is dumb. There's no rewards for this. Why would I do this? I would have to be way into monkey ball to want to grow this banana tree.
You could just plant a real banana tree.
Yes, and that would be a good use of my time in New York City.
Yeah. Especially right now. I think now is the ideal time to plant a banana tree if you're going to do it.
Yeah, I think you're right, because then it'll be like starting to grow as the snow comes down.
I assume so. I don't know how long it takes to grow a banana tree, actually. Maybe now is the ideal time. I just don't know.
Couldn't tell you. I don't think I have a place to grow a banana tree, even if now was the ideal time to grow it. Anyway, I recommend Super Monkey Ball, Banana Rumble. It's a good one, even if it doesn't have a new banger. Like, the music is good, but there's no new banger theme song from the Banana Bunch, or whatever their name is. So that's a little disappointing.
Well, a couple more from me, I guess. I played Mediterranea Inferno, which I did have to pull up so that I could remember how to pronounce the first word.
Good.
Because by the end, it just usually... I'm like, I know it's not just Mediterranean, right?
Yeah.
But I can't remember, like, when I think about it in my mind, it goes Mediterranea. But it's Mediterranea. Yeah. Which is like a visual novel about like three friends, three gay guys who are getting back together for the first time for like a summer meetup after COVID. Where they're Italian also, hence the Mediterranean. Which, if you don't know, Italy had some very strict lockdowns during COVID. I think a couple of them, actually, where they let people out and then put them back in their houses again.
Well, they were very hard hit in the beginning.
Yeah, they were hit pretty bad. But unlike, like, us here, they actually did have, like, don't leave your house sort of lockdowns. So it's very much kind of like a story of like three very different reactions to that kind of lockdown time and the sort of mental toll that it took on people, the whole experience of COVID and also the experience of lockdowns. So it's sort of like a horror VN, I guess, by the end of it, in that it's very extremely demonstrating the sorts of mindsets that these three guys have gotten themselves into. But it's very interesting, and it's very beautifully presented, I guess, like, visually. It's very colorful. But they're in this, like, competition. This god-type being comes down and offers them the chance to experience, like, these dreams called mirages that allow them to, like, experience things as they want them to be. And so they're sort of competing with each other that by the end of this vacation, if they have enough mirages, they can ascend to heaven. But of course, not all of them can get all the required mirages to do so by the end of their vacation. So you sort of make choices to figure out who is getting their mirages, and then that affects the ending that you get at the end, and then there's also a secret ending you get by collecting certain cards within the mirages that you can get on a second playthrough, essentially. Just a very interesting game. I think it's like probably one of the first pieces of media that's like really explicitly about COVID that I've played. I think there are, things that you could make an argument for that are somewhat about COVID, at least in an extracted way. But in this, it's like very, like, it names it. It's very specifically about it. It's very specifically set at a point in time and thinking about the way that things are now. And I imagine we'll see more of those as years pass. So it's sort of like a harbinger of a wave of COVID media that I'm sure will eventually come to hit us down the road.
Maybe, it does sort of feel like it's coming further down the road than I might have expected.
That's fair.
Or I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I would have expected it to just totally disappear. But it's the new, this is set at a time before smartphones and movies. There's a lot of movies randomly set in like 2018, 2019 right now, I think.
Is that before smartphones?
No, it's not before smartphones, but it's before, it's like, why does this movie take place in 2017?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, because it's now, but we don't have to worry about these people wearing masks.
Yeah. That's fair.
But I do think, I think we are probably seeing and will see more media that's about friendship and connection and whatever.
Sure.
Like, being close to people and that kind of COVID reaction. And I think our media that's about actual pandemics is probably like 5 years away.
Yeah.
Assuming no other catastrophic pandemics in the meantime, which would reset the clock.
Yeah, fair enough. One more game I played on my Steam Deck. I also played Mediterranean Inferno on my Steam Deck, so getting some use out of it. I'm using it. Is a very, very short game called No Case Should Remain Unsolved. That's like a mystery solving case. So essentially, you're connecting memories, right? You start out with a few, and then by following keywords, you can find new memories, but you're not quite sure who said what. Like, it's about like a policewoman trying to remember what happened in this one case that wasn't solved. So as you identify more people, you identify who they were to each other, and you try to put their testimony in the correct person as well as in the correct order that it was said. So it's I found it to be a very engaging like system of trying to piece together like who these people were and what they said, as well as what order this was happening. It just, it's like, it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe. And it was just like very big, good like ride of going from like, huh? To, oh, to, huh? To, oh, as like things came together, right? Because there were some things that were, like, locked in a person's column that I just could not figure out for so long. I was like, I don't understand why this person is saying this. It doesn't feel connected to the role that he's been given in, like, this police woman's mind. And when it finally clicks, it's really satisfying, I think. So... It again, it's very short. It's just one case, right? You're just piecing together a single one case, but I feel like it's just a very engaging format, and it'd be fun to see. And it'd be fun to see more mysteries sort of make use of this just like text organizing system.
Have you seen that the new, well, I guess it's old, but the new Western Ace Attorney is coming?
Yes, finally. Ace Attorney Investigations 2, officially in the West. It is very exciting.
I still have to play. I own the trilogy, and I, like, started it. But I only played, like, half an hour.
I still think that the original trilogy is just a very solid set of games. I think that Shutakumi just, like, structures things really well in all of his games, and the way that things build off each other. And so if you ever get around to the Ace Attorney games, I still think they're quite good. The Apollo Justice ones are more uneven, because it has different writers on a lot of them, but...
Just feels like a good time of year for mystery games.
Yeah.
Spooky fall.
Yeah. It's not quite October yet. Don't get ahead of yourself.
It will be in a blink. All year I've been like, oh, that thing, that's not till September. That's not till September.
Right.
Even last week I was like, that's not till September.
Yeah.
Dumb. Speaking of things that are dumb and time that passes in ways that don't always make sense, I have been playing plenty of Balatro. Who would have guessed?
Not me. I never would have guessed you'd play more Balatro.
A quick boyfriend reported to me that he was listening to the podcast where we pull Balatro out of the hat, and you were like, this is going to be a problem for you.
Yeah, I knew it.
And lo and behold, it is. So Balatro, if you didn't listen to that episode a few weeks ago, is a deck building, poker based, roguelike where you have poker hands and they're worth certain amounts of points and you have all sorts of fun multipliers, and it ultimately gets less and less and less and less like poker as you play. So yeah, Click Boyfriend, I've been playing a lot of Balatro. It's a really great game for like tricking my brain into work mode. And because you can like just take pauses in it without any consequences to the flow or anything like that. I've played enough of it that I'm sort of like, oh, I can probably stop in September. Because if I don't stop...
In September?
I know. Here we are. It's September.
It is September, Madelyn.
I know! But I'm like, oh, that's probably a good stopping place. But every time I say that, I'm like, oh, I've played like every run strategy that would be fun. Like, I don't want to do this again. And then last night I played another great fun run where it was like an all face cards run where I was like deleting other cards. It was 4 of a kind city. That was like, that was fun. So it has a lot of, I'm looking forward to his promised eventual expansion to it. Because I do think, I'm getting to a point of diminishing returns, and the unfortunate thing about this game is that, like, I could continue to keep playing it past that point, but I should probably start going to the library and reading books on the train when I'm doing sort of my more commuting as I reach the fall here than, like, only playing Balatro on the train.
Did you get the, Witcher Vampire Survivors Among Us update?
What?
Wasn't there, like, maybe it was just for the Switch, but at the Direct, there was, like, they did, like, a Witcher Vampire Survivors small expansion thing.
To Balatro?
Yeah.
No, but I do have it on Switch. Let's look this up.
Oh, no. I shouldn't have told you.
Free update.
Yeah.
What the heck?
I don't actually know how much it changes the game or, like, is just aesthetic or whatever.
I think they might just be cosmetic.
Yeah. But that was the first, like, announcement at, like, either the Indie Direct or the Partner Direct. I don't remember which one.
Yeah, includes card decks from The Witcher 3, Among Us, Dave the Diver, the indie game.
Yes.
And Vampire Survivors. I think you have to activate them. There's some kind of other surprise in store. This is the problem. Yes. Is that I feel like there's so much more that I could do.
This is why no live service games can survive anymore. They've all been eaten by Balatro.
That's correct. Balatro killed
Concord.
Concord. That was the reason. Maybe they should have made it honestly, a 5v5 deck builder would be pretty sweet.
Be interesting.
I don't have a concept for it beyond that, but
yeah.
That's all I need to have. If I can just say that to Sony, tell them I need 7 years to make it, I'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, I'm hoping to wean myself off. I'm sure it will be in my next update, because as I said, I do have my, biannual trip to the West Coast as part of this next 6 weeks, and this will be a good game for that.
Yeah, you just gotta wait for Civ 7 on Switch.
Yeah. I know. I'm scared. I haven't gotten Civ 6 though. I'm stuck with Civ 5.
People are mixed on Civ 6, I think.
I guess.
Was the general consensus.
I'm mixed on Civ 5.
Well, there you go.
I would really just like it to be Civ 3. With all the expansions. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I don't. I miss my army stacks. But yeah. I do think I will end up playing a bit more Balatro. Because I'm busy. It'll be a nice game to have. But I'm plotting that in the 6 weeks I'm actually going to start some of these big games that I've been saying I'm going to play for like a year. Final Fantasy, I'm coming for you. Except the Clickbait boyfriend reminded me. He was like, are you going to play the Yuffie DLC first? And I was like, crap. I still have to play the Yuffie DLC.
That's only like 3 hours. So.
I know it's not long. It was just like, oh my god, there's so many games.
Yeah. Alright, I'll do my last 2 games and let you close it out.
Please.
The last game I finished these 6 weeks was the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood, which I definitely played a demo of one Steam Next Fest. I don't remember if it was one I shared on the show or not. But it's about, like, you're a witch and you've been banished from your clan for, like, 1,000 years, and you've served, like, several hundred of them in, like, solo isolation, essentially. And you've decided to summon a behemoth, which is very forbidden, in order to gain more power so that you can get out of this solo isolation, because you think you'll go insane if you have to go through it anymore. So you make a pact with this behemoth who will grant you certain things in exchange for certain things, which you can choose among 3 different things for each of the choices that it offers you, essentially. So I can't remember exactly what all of them was, but essentially I just wanted knowledge and people to be afraid of me, I think, and in exchange I gave up my immortality. And all of these things are sort of granted to you at different times throughout the story, like different seals come into effect, and then it sort of ends with, you know, your last seal being triggered and whatever consequence comes from that. And so you play as Fortuna. She is like a tarot reading witch, but as part of this behemoth pact, she starts making like her own tarot deck as opposed to like the classic one. So a lot of the gameplay is like arts and craftsing, like your own like little deck designs. So you get like different symbols and backgrounds and stuff, and you can organize them on the card whatever way that you want to.
Cute.
The way that it's organized theoretically has like an impact on what the card will mean by the end. But I never really figured out how that worked, so I didn't really pay very much attention to it. But people will come to you and ask to have their fortune told, so you'll draw cards from the deck, and you can assign them to like the different questions that they ask, and then you'll be given like a few different choices of readings that this card means. And the more powerful the card, the more readings there will be available to you when you draw it and place it into the thing. I really liked the first part of this that was really just focused on the cards and like telling readings to the people who came to see you. But it sort of devolves into like you end up in this sort of like election arc to take control of your coven, which was kind of interesting and added some new mechanics, but I just didn't find it to really take advantage of the vibes that I had liked from the first part of it. And so it's sort of like a game where I'm like, I could see this being like someone's absolute favorite game they've ever played, right? It's not mine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But I still enjoyed it. I still feel like I had a good time with it. I like arts. What can I say? I like arts and crafts. I like designing characters, I like dressing them up, and I like arts and crafts in my games.
Emma just wants to draw pretty pictures.
Pretty much. And then the last game I played these 6 weeks, which I am still playing, but I think I'm approaching the end, at least, of like a first playthrough of it, is, oh gosh, what is it? Kinitsugami, Path of the Goddess, which is a Capcom game. It's like a real-time strategy game mixed with an action game. So essentially you play as Soul, who's like the spiritual guardian manifestation warrior of the priestess, who's going across like this forested area, purifying all the different villages from monsters called the Seethe. So in each level, you have a day and night cycle. You have to essentially guide Yuriko across the path from one side of the level to the other. So during the day, she'll sort of dance her way down the path at a set speed, and you have to carve the path for her as well. And you can also tell her to like go and stop if you decide you don't want her to go any further during the day, so that she is in a strategically advantaged position. You also go around like purifying the village, which gets you like, I don't remember what they're called, but little pink orbs that form like the currency you can use during the level. Sure. And you also save villagers from where they've been cocooned, essentially. And then using these little pink currency markers, you can carve the path farther, or you can assign villagers different roles, of which you gain access to more over as the game goes on. So like you can make them into like a woodcutter or an archer or a marksman or a shaman or a priest or stuff like that. And each of these different roles has different like actions that they take, right? So woodcutter is like the basic melee type thing, and archer is like the basic range type thing. So then during the day, you set these villagers in position in places where you think will be good around. And during the night, the seed come out from different torii gates around the level. And you have to protect, the priestess from being attacked and killed by the seed by fighting them yourself, which is the action game element, and also, moving villagers around to make sure that they're covering any seed that are coming to attack the priestess. So you're like, constantly moving villagers around or trying to set up advantageous things or anticipating where you think the seed will come from during the night, as well as trying to keep the priestess moving during the day so that when she gets to the other end, you can finish the level, which is I find it very fun.
Yeah.
There's also like boss levels where you can like tell people to go on attack or defense based on what the boss is doing. There's like special ones where you are on water and have to survive during the night without boats getting sunk. There's ones where the priestess is being possessed by something and you have to spend your pink orb currency to break her out of it, and it's just a night until you succeed in undoing her possession. And also you lose physical form during those times because she's like spiritually manifesting you. You're not like a real guy.
Been there.
And also when you purify the gates at the end, everybody does a dance. That's like a big part of it. And as like the night approaches, everybody starts doing like a little dance. Yeah, is what they do at the end with like a big like rainbow move. It's nice. Really good. I like I like it a lot. It's like technically dubbed, but I don't think the dance noises are dubbed because the voice direction they've gone for is like very British for the dub. So occasionally you'll hear like, "We can do this" from one of the villagers, which is always very like, I don't believe that's what you sound like.
Yeah.
It's almost over. Very fun game. Very weird game. But if you like tactics stuff, like just very fun times, I think. It can get pretty difficult, especially in the later levels. It very much encourages you to go back and like do like bonus objectives in old levels so that you can get more like level up currency, because you can upgrade all the different roles for your villagers so that they can do more things and have more attack and health and stuff. So it's very much like, keep improving yourself. So if you hit a wall in a level, you can always go back and get stuff so that you can improve like your spearmen so that they can actually start doing some more damage or something like that.
I like the sound of this when numbers go up perspective.
Yeah, it is very numbers go up.
Well, my last game that I played these 6 weeks was at Emma's suggestion, or really like Emma's suggestion in the podcast, and then Click My Boyfriend is caught up enough on the podcast that he actually listened to it in a semi-timely manner, is that we played Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, all of it, and had generally a good time.
Good.
I think just a really smart way of training the player to be able to solve the puzzles.
Yeah.
And creative use of the answers to these puzzles are really going to be one of like 6 things almost every time. It's still feeling quite clever and creative. I totally get the article that I read when I was researching for the Animal Well podcast now, where it was like, Animal Well's puzzles don't make any sense if you explain them to someone else, and Lorelei's do, sort of. I want to take issue with that a little bit. Like, there are certainly just, like, sort of basic logic puzzles in this one, but there's also a lot of, you must be immersed in the world
Yeah.
to understand what this is. For those who don't remember Emma talking about this game whenever it was, it's a puzzle mystery game, sort of like very old school black and white, like old computer game, stylized, and some of it like even older than that, stylized. And you're a lady in a creepy mansion, and you seem to be there because a filmmaker artist guy has invited you to come out, and then things get more mysterious from there. Overall, I found all of the puzzling, like, really quite satisfying. It wasn't until we got to the very end that we ever really hit a real bottleneck. And that bottleneck was like, oh, we didn't find this key that was at the very beginning of the labyrinth that we could have gotten to right away. Like, we've been looking for the key to one of the puzzle box rooms for, like, the whole time. We were like, oh, man, this must be a late game key. Like, they're hiding this room from us. We have to get all the way to the end. And then, no, it was behind, like, a stupid door at the beginning with, like, what year is this guy expecting you to visit kind of energy. It's like, I would have known that the very first minute I stepped in here, and I just happened to not find this door.
Yeah.
So it's only at the very end. And for the most part, there were only a couple of puzzles that I was like, that kind of sucked. Spoilers, I guess, for the game. Now, I'll try to be a little vague. We really thought we had figured out the moon journal.
Yeah.
In that there's another set of 5 dates that seem like you could use them for the moon journal. Like the letters that you get, the 18, whatever the year is. I've already lost what the years are. 1847 letters that you get. There's 5 of them. And Click Boyfriend were like, oh my god, the letters! It's those! We have to figure out the faces of the moon from those! And then later you get a piece of paper that's like, it's these 5 dates. I was like, come on! Boo! You gave me something that I thought was a perfect fit for that. And alas, it was not. And then, like, my ultimate critique of the game is it set up so much story stuff that was really interesting, right? And so many kind of meta levels to the construction of the game, right? It's a game, but then there's a game within the game that you can look at, and you know, you're playing this thing, and there's these police reports that are structured like a script, but there's also an actual script that mirrors the events of the game, and so many, like, you know, what's fiction and what's real levels to the game. And then for the end, real spoilers here, for the end to be ultimately all of this was sort of just the dying dream of a woman who made art that sort of looked like this. It wasn't the worst way the game could have ended. It was a neat tie-up to the kind of murder mystery of it all. Mm-hmm. But I was a little bit disappointed that it didn't ultimately engage more with, well, like, what were the beta levels, right? What were the, you know, the weird kind of, like, even older school game memories of the day before? Like, what was the deal with, like, this giant supercomputer? What was the deal with the script versus the police stuff? Like, there was just a lot of stuff that felt like it was leading me to something that was going to be about that. And for it ultimately to sort of be like, it was all just a dream.
Well, it was all a dream based on, like, things that she had been working on and things that happened to her, right?
Sure.
So there's still, it's not like it was all fiction or is all real. There were still parts that were fake and true.
Yes, I don't mean to oversimplify too much. You're right. And that's why I say it is in some senses a more successful ending than I think many of these games have. It in some ways felt more successful to me than like the Oprah Din ending, which just sort of felt like it fizzled out. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it tied up some things. I do feel like I'd kind of figured it out. Like, my boyfriend was sort of like, oh, surprised by it. And I did sort of feel like I had figured it out. Like, I don't really think it's meant to be like a twist at the end.
No, I think it expects you to know.
Yeah.
Because it asks you at the end, like, to
Right.
answer the questions correctly before you get to it. So it does test that you actually understand what's going on.
Yes.
It does the Danganronpa closing argument, you might say.
Yes. But I just felt like, you set up a lot of stuff here that was, like, so metatextually interesting or, like, layered. And you're right that it's wrong to be like, oh, it was all a dream, because, of course, it's sort of like her working through this traumatic memory, right? Mm-hmm. But there's just a lot of stuff that's like, but, like, you set up this thing that was so cool, and ultimately it didn't matter that it was so cool. Like, even if you had done that in a way that was less cool, it wouldn't have impacted anything. Does that make sense?
I think I get what you're trying to say. I think that if things were less cool, it probably would have impacted things, but I understand what you're trying to say.
I just mean that, discovering clues in, like, beta versions of the world, or discovering clues in, the script versus the police testimony or whatever, while those were really cool to experience as a player as I was moving through them, you could have changed what information you found in what places, or, like, totally gotten rid of that structure for presenting some of it without impacting the ultimate kind of ending message of the game.
I mean, I did think the detective stuff was very literal.
Yes. Sorry, that was maybe not a good example. All I meant was a lot of very interesting playing with medium here.
Sure.
That ultimately felt a little bit just, like, atmospheric rather than something that was more deeply embedded in the story being told, perhaps. At least in my opinion. I expected a grander reveal at the end. But that's okay. It was a really great game. I would recommend playing it. The publisher is, like, still teasing that there's some kind of big secret that no one has discovered. Have you seen that?
I will not find all your American dollars.
I won't do it.
I won't do it. I don't care. I didn't buy all your gotcha toys. That's really all I missed out on by not finding all the dollars. So.
Yeah. I would be really interested to see a speedrun of this game.
Yeah.
I'm like, what information do you actually need? How fast can you, like, brute force your way through it? Like, how do you get the items you need moving as fast as possible?
So I do think it's not, like, there are a couple of things that change, or are randomized a little bit in each playthrough.
Really?
Like, some of the puzzles. Because I remember, I think I had to look up, like, 1 or 2 puzzles when I was playing it, and they always had to explain how to do it rather than just, like, tell you the answer.
Oh, do you think with the, like, year rooms that where the numbers are is...
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
Like the puzzle boxes.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there's definitely at least a few puzzles that are... the shortcuts, for example. All of them are the same, all the puzzles are the same, but the door that they're assigned to are different.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think there's other ones like that, too, where they've moved around which is assigned to where. Which might not affect speedruns as long as you know the answers to all the puzzles, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did not have to look up a single puzzle solution.
I got stuck on... I felt like I knew the keypad to, like, the glass... What is it? The orangery in the courtyard. Yeah. I just couldn't figure out how, like, I felt like I understood it, but I was just pressing the wrong buttons or something.
That one we did not, that was another one that was like, oh, we should have figured this out a long time ago.
Yeah, that's what it was for me too. I was like, but I did eventually spot the stuff on the ground. I just was not pressing because you had to, like, draw it on the keypad. Yeah. I was not drawing it the correct way that it wanted me to.
Yeah.
So I had to look that up.
There was one, we were, like, trying to draw numbers for something, and then we discovered it was not that. It was something totally different. But I was, like, being like, but how do I draw the 1? It's so unfair. Like, what kind of 1? And then it was not. That was not the answer. My only other critique is that for a game that seems designed to be played with, like, your lights out at night, it's a little harsh looking. I know that's the aesthetic, but like the text is a little small and the contrast is a little harsh. And it feels like you could do something to address that.
Yeah. I will say I did appreciate, I think, you know, from an accessibility standpoint, you could have done something with the contrast and the text size. But I did appreciate how, like, intentionally, like, not user-friendly some of it was.
Yes, Click My Boyfriend was really bad at moving in the demo levels. Like,
it was tank controls.
What?
I believe those were tank controls.
Yes, he was really bad at it. I was fine at it. He simply could not walk.
But also, like, you have to always go back to the X to get out of the menu.
Yeah.
You can't just press circle.
I didn't appreciate that.
I kind of liked it.
We could have just had a back button.
I liked it.
I did not appreciate that.
It's very old computery.
I did like that it did not ever make you, like, backtrack to remember something. With, like, the exception of the rooms in the very last puzzle. Which, yeah, we finished up this game at, like, 2 a.m. a couple weeks ago. Because we thought the last puzzle was going to be easy with the computer, and then we got, like, stuck. There was something we were not entering right. For a while I got myself convinced that it's like, no, it's not the first symbol, the second symbol, the third symbol. It's 213, based on that thing, in that one thing where it says 213, and the letters, the signs that say it's all mixed up. So to get very conspiracy theory minded at the end. I'll also say that online, I was like looking at stuff online afterwards. I was like, Lorelai ending explained. And everybody seemed to have trouble with the piano puzzle, which I thought was fine.
I think when I first looked at it, I was just like, oh, this is something to do with the placement of the notes.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, I guess you were fine, so this isn't entirely true, but I do feel like if you have some familiarity with looking at a music score, your first thought might be, oh, I need to read this music score, not, I just need to count the number of notes.
That was my first thought, to be fair. But then I realized that was not possible. Apparently the trouble people had with it is that it doesn't turn up in your mental notes. Which is bad, because it's kind of important. Anyway, good game. Good game. You should play it. One of my faves this year. Unfortunately, now I only play Balatro.
When's the Balatro Lorelai Laserlies crossover?
That would be crazy.
Also, another game that understands it should be a musical.
Yes. Certainly.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the adaptation. Any Tokyo Game Show predictions?
No. Honestly, no.
Are we gonna get more Kingdom Hearts 4?
I don't know. They announced their schedule, but I don't think that always, like sometimes they announce things that aren't, like, on stage.
Yeah.
I don't fully understand how TGS works, to be honest, sometimes. So, I don't know. Maybe.
One can only hope.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm owed some Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. That's all we played.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
Have you lost your life to Balatro? Did you also play a lot of games that were about gods and deities? I feel like all of Emma's games were about gods this week.
Yeah, a couple.
It seemed like a running through line to me.
Yeah, a couple.
Do you have trouble distinguishing between truth and fiction? Or Super Monkey Ball and Real Monkeys? If you have thoughts about this or anything else we talked about this week, hit us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Talk This Podcast. You can also visit our website, www.talkthispodcast.com, where you can read all about the show, check out the games in the hat for our main quests, and read our blog featuring long-running series, Click My Boyfriend, and Split Screen. But most importantly, if you enjoyed the show, you ought to subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts, online and on the app, Overcast, Pocket Casts, wherever you can find podcasts. Listen, like, subscribe to Talk This. Next week it was 2 games I had never heard of before.
Jeanne d'Arc for the old game, and Still Wakes the Deep for the new game.
And then in 2 weeks, it'll be my podcast, which is just going to be about how to quit Balatro.
I think that'd be a useful public resource for a lot of people.
I think so. Just to, let me tell you how I did it.
Yeah.
How I freed myself from the jokers. And then onward and onward and onward we go. But that's it for this week's show. Emma, sign us off.
This week, I hope you know that you can do it!